Hey guys, in this video we are going to be making some bracelets. These bracelets are very simple to make with knots all the way through that make this spiraled pattern all the way along. To get started with this project, we are going to use some of this friendship thread, and you can get this at basically any craft store or any craft section. And you'll want to choose the colors that you are going to want to use. And another thing that I would suggest that you can use for this project instead of this friendship thread is embroidery thread. The reason that I would suggest using embroidery thread instead of this friendship thread is because when making the knots with this friendship thread and rubbing it against itself too many times, it can become thin and then break in half. As to the embroidery thread stands up a little better to that rubbing against itself and is less likely to break. In this tutorial though, I am going to be using this friendship thread. So again, you are going to want to choose the colors that you are wanting to use for your bracelet. In this instance, I am going to be using 7 different colors, the colors of the rainbow. You can choose whatever colors you want and however many or however little colors you would like. You will want to keep in mind that the more colors you use, the thicker your bracelet will be. As to if you use less colors, your bracelet will be thinner. And I will show you that again at the end when I have made up this bracelet with the 7 different colors. Also, if you are using just 2 colors, you will still need 2 strings to tie together. That way you will have 1 string to work your work around and work the knots around, and then 1 string to work the knots with. Also, if you are using only 1 color, 2 colors, or even 3 colors, you will want your strings to be fairly long, and I would suggest at least 3 feet for just 1, 2, or 3 colors. That way you will have enough to make the bracelet as long as you would like, and still have enough to tie it together. On the opposite hand of that, the more colors that you have, the less string you will need, and you will not need your string to be as long because you have more colors that you are working with, and each string will be used less. So to get started with this, we are going to tie a knot at the top of our strings, leaving enough space before the knot to tie this on when it is finished. I typically make this a bracelet that you tie on that only comes off when it falls off, but you can add clasps to this if you would like. When you have your knot placed, I'm going to stick mine into this clipboard. You can use whatever method you would like to be able to hold yours down, but for this case I'm going to use this clipboard, and I'm going to start with my red string because I'm making this a rainbow bracelet. You can start with whatever color you would like. So you will want to separate whatever color it is that you are wanting to use by itself, and then leave the rest in a bunch. To make the knots for this bracelet, you will take the color that you are wanting to use first and put it underneath these other colors. I like to just hook it with my pointer finger like this so that it makes this 4, and then you will put the tail end through this hole that you made and pull it through, and then you will pull this up to the top. With this friendship thread, I like to leave it loose until you get it to where you want it to be tight, and when you get it to that place, then pull it tight, because like I said, this friendship thread can break if it is pulled tight too much. So again, to make one of these knots, you will put the color you want underneath the rest of them to make this 4, then put the tail end through the hole and pull it through, then pull it up to where you want it to be and pull it tight, and you will want it to make sure that it is all the way up to that first knot. Therefore you cannot see the threads in between your 2 knots. And that is what you are going to keep doing. So if you are using 1 color, you'll do that for the whole bracelet. Again, make a 4, put the tail end through the hole, pull it through, pull it up to where you want it to be, and then pull it tight. I am using multiple colors, so I have done 3 knots already, and I like to count how many knots I make with each color. That way I can change on each color at that same count, and therefore each count will be the same length or width. So I'm going to go on to do 7 more knots with this red color. That way I will have 10 knots with this red color, and then I will switch to the next color and show you how we do that. So I have now done 5 more knots. I still have 1 left to do, but my string has started going to the top of my work like this, like it wants to ravel around, which this does end up raveling around the bracelet to make this spiral, and that is what you want it to do. So what I like to do once it actually starts going around like that is put the string underneath it to help with that twist, and then continue doing the same thing. Make a 4, put the tail through the hole, and then pull it up to where you want it. And it will continue making that for you exactly the same way and continue that spiral. So I now have 10 of this red color, 10 knots, and I actually want it to be a little wider. So I'm going to go on to do 5 more knots for 15 knots of the red color, and then I will switch to the next color. Okay, I have 15 knots around these strings now with the red string, and you can see where my knots are and where the string is coming off is now basically back where it started, and I now have 1 full spiral all the way around. So now I'm going to go on to change colors, and I'm going to change to orange because again I'm making a rainbow, and you will want to kind of untangle it so that it is coming out from where you want it to come out at. So it would come out here naturally, and I'm going to bring it through the middle so that it is coming out where my red one is coming out right now. And then I'm going to take the red one and group it in with the rest of them like this. And then we are going to go on to do the same thing that we've been doing by taking the color that we want to use now, putting it underneath to make a 4, putting the tail end through the hole, pulling that through, and pulling that up to where we want it to be, and pulling that tight. When you change colors like this, you will definitely want to make sure that your knot is up next to the first color. Again, so you cannot see these middle strings sticking through your knots. So that is the first knot of the next color. You'll go on to do it again, make a 4, and pull that through, and pull that tight where you want it to be. So that is what you are going to do for this whole bracelet, switching colors wherever you would like, or not switching colors at all. It is up to you. Just continue making 4s, pulling the tail through, pulling the knot to where you want it to be, and pulling that tight. And when it starts spiraling around, flip your string over, pull it back to the side you need it to be on, and continue doing the same thing again until you have your bracelet the length that you would like it to be. I tend to make my bracelets about 6.5 to 7 inches long. Okay, I've now finished my bracelet to be the length that I would like it to be. I went through the rainbow, as you can see, 2 full times, and then ended on another orange set, and that makes my bracelet just about 6.5 inches long. You can, of course, make yours longer or shorter, depending on the size, but 6.5 to 7 inches is a good general size. At this point, you are done with your bracelet, And you can tie another knot here at the end if you would like there to be a knot on both ends. But I personally do not like the knots, so I even untie this beginning knot sometimes so that it is not there on either end. And then you can now tie it onto yourself or onto whoever, or give them away, or do whatever you would like with them. Also, as I said in the beginning, the more strings that you use and the more colors that you use, the thicker your bracelet will be. So again, with this bracelet, I used 7 strings. And with these other two, I used 2 on this first one and 3 on the second. So you will see that they all have a different thickness to them. And also, the more strings that you have, the wider the spiral will be. So you can see how tight the spiral is on this first one, and it gets looser with the second, and even looser with the third. And again, this is 2 strings, 3 strings, and 7 strings. Also keep in mind when you are making these that if you use fewer colors, you will need your initial strings to be longer, and the more colors that you use, you will not need your strings to be as long, so that you have that length at the end to tie them on as well as the beginning. And that's all there is to it. So I hope that that was helpful and enjoyable for you. If it was, please hit that sub, like, and bell button and leave me a comment to tell me what you think. I hope that you guys go on to create many more amazing things. And until next time, guys, I'll see ya.